Your Excellencies, Ministers, Heads of Delegation of the ITF member countries, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome guest country ministers. On behalf of the Latvian presidency to the ITF, I am delighted to greet all the distinguished participants who have traveled from all regions of the world to be present at this important annual event and to discuss our common goal, ensuring safe and secure movement of our people and goods. The issue of safety and security have been before transport planners and managers for many years and will maintain its top position in the priority list also in the future. We all, our families and friends, are part of transportation system, and this makes us personally aware how important it is to ensure a safe and secure multimodal transportation system that is resilient to natural or man-made hazards. I would like to thank sincerely the ministers for consensus in adopting the Declaration on Safety and Security in Transport in order to seek understanding how to address these challenges: safety for sustainable and inclusive road and rail transport, security of passenger transport, safe, secure and resilient transport systems, innovation and new technologies for a safer and more secure transport. The adoption of the Declaration shows our commitment and willingness to join forces for greater good. I wish us all fruitful discussions, sharing of valuable experiences and best practices. I am confident that we will hear today, and what we will hear today would provide good food for thought in designing the future of our transportation systems.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, I welcome you all to Leipzig, and I think it was an excellent start from yesterday, and we are still enjoying our excellent journey together. And I think this session is really an important platform where we can meet together, especially private sector and public sector, and members and non-members of ITF to create synergies, to exchange information, etc. So I think this is the direction in which we have to move forward, and we will move forward, we should move forward. So thank you once again, and we will enjoy our fruitful conversation for the next 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Thank you very much, Secretary General, and thank you very much also to the Latvian Presidency State Secretary Ozolins. Good morning, Excellencies, delegates, and guests, and a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm Melinda Crane, Political Chief Correspondent at the Deutsche Welle, and it is my great honor to accompany you this morning as moderator and to facilitate an exchange that is aimed at promoting the kind of discussion and cooperation that your declaration published this morning so emphatically supports. Cooperation that's aimed at ensuring that transport infrastructure and operations are safe, secure, and resilient to disruptions of all kinds, from terrorism to natural disasters. In the next hour and 25 minutes, we will explore some of the elements of resilience that are mentioned in your declaration and also were briefly addressed just now by the State Secretary and the Secretary General. We're going to focus in particular on opportunities for better cooperation and coordination amongst stakeholders, including in the exchange and use of data and other innovative technologies. We'll start out by hearing statements from 3 transport industry leaders, whom I will introduce shortly. After each of their statements, there will be a short window for clarification questions. So questions really aimed at clarifying terminology or other issues in those statements themselves. We will then have an additional period of 40 to 45 minutes of open dialogue following the intervention of our third guest speaker. I'm going to ask you to please raise your flags if you wish to speak, either if you have a question of clarification after the individual interventions, or if you wish to speak during the open discussion that follows. We do have pre-registered statements from 7 countries. If you wish to give your pre-registered statement, I'll also ask you at that point to raise your flag, and if you have a spontaneous intervention as well, do use the flag to signal that you wish to speak. And I'm going to ask that all contributions be kept brief, and what do I mean exactly by brief? For pre-registered statements, please 3 minutes maximum, and for all other spontaneous contributions, 2 minutes, please, dear Excellencies, because we do have, as you have seen, quite a tight schedule. So, let us begin, and it is now my great honor to introduce our first guest speaker. Mr. Alexandre de Juniac is the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the International Air Transport Association, IATA. He was formerly Chairman and CEO of Air France, KLM, and he has also held leading positions in the French government. Welcome, Monsieur de Juniac. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor and pleasure to be there. The theme you have assigned to us is to deal with resilience. Resilience for us, for the airlines, is absolutely critical. We transport 4 billion passengers. We serve 100,000 flights daily, and we connect 20,000 routes, so it's an important point. And when things go wrong, everybody is aware. Because in the aviation sector, we are overexposed to all kinds of risks. Whether there is a volcano somewhere, a nuclear plant exploding, an epidemic, a strike, or any disruption, resilience is at the core of our activity. So we have developed a very solid and consistent system to manage crises. I do not pretend that it is perfect, but if you visit our airlines, and if you visit an OCC, which is an operational control center, you will see how crisis problems can be managed. We try to be efficient, we try to be effective, but we are a bit ready to cope with crises and problems. And we have done that because, first, we have strong processes. Secondly, we have invested in technology. And thirdly, we have also a strong cooperation between ourselves and with the authorities and with the various stakeholders when a crisis happens. So I would like today focus only on systemic disruptions. That is a test for our resilience. In dealing with these, we rely on some principles. First, as aviation, as we are a global business, we rely on global standards, best practices. Second, aviation is built on partnership and exchange of information. That builds the resiliency into the system. And third, our processes and investment in very advanced technology are key to strengthen the resilience of the system. Let me take 3 examples to illustrate what I am trying to demonstrate. First of all, let's look at the ash cloud crisis that happened in 2010 in Europe. It was one of the most disruptive events of the last decade because authorities closed airspace over Northern Europe for more than a week, leading tens of thousands of flight cancellations. We were very concerned, and authority was concerned about the safety impact of ash on aircraft engines. But we have there reinvented the wheel, because we know in aviation, in other parts of the world, how to deal with this type of problems. And we know how to fly around or to avoid the consequences of volcanic eruptions. So the global standards and best practice were not followed in Europe in that case. And the result that we lost $1.7 billion because of the shutdown, and the total economic impact was almost above that. So we learned from that disaster. Government and industry formalized procedures. We have launched standards. We have adopted existing standards that are used in other parts of the world. So we have done the job, and we hope that in Northern Europe we will avoid similar events in the future. Second example, where working together is absolutely vital to business resilience, is the aftermath of terrorist attacks. In Europe in 2015, 2016, we faced very dramatic attacks, and it has been, of course, terrible on people and individuals. It has reduced the international passenger traffic by 1.6% and has huge impact on tourism and flow of passengers and goods. In Brussels, for instance, we have had these terrible events, and we can never pay enough tribute to the heroic efforts of the airport and the airline staff to resume operations. But the political decision there to place additional screening at the airport entrance was not in keeping with industry experience and best practices. In fact, we have created, at that time, a new and more vulnerable area outside the airport, as well as extensive delays. So what we mean is that unilateral actions, particularly on security, create a huge challenge to system resilience. Usually, it decreases the resilience when it is unilateral. We have another example. It is the partial ban on large portable electronic devices that has been introduced by the US and the UK last year. You know, in that action, we opened a dialogue immediately with the Transport Security Administration, the TSA. The focus was on achieving their security goals while minimizing the impact. And the impact was both. It was almost impossible, to forbid, PED in the aircraft. It is common sense that nobody will give in his telephone, his laptop, his tablet. And on the other hand, piling up lithium-ion batteries in the belly is a major safety issue. You can create fires in the belly. So we convince, by discussion, by cooperation with the TSA, the US and the UK authorities to change, and the measures were lifted. So we have to cooperate and to discuss with government in advance when we talk about security and safety. What we bring, we the airlines, we bring the operational experience. And the governments, they bring the responsibility, the security, the information. And both of us were able to implement clever measures and applicable and practical measures. Third example, I would like to turn to another topic, which is airline bankruptcy or industrial action. It's not because I am French that I am a specialist in industrial action, just to remind you of. We know that the airline business is fragile. You have bankruptcy very often in that sector, a lot of tombstone in this activity. We are also overexposed to industrial actions and the consequences of strikes. In Europe, for instance, we have very big strikes coming from air traffic control. Despite the fact that they enjoy stable employment, high wages, there are strikes in some central countries of Europe that threaten the old traffic. And it affects the resilience of the system. So should we envisage to do something to mitigate the risk, to improve the resilience of the system, for instance, giving to neighboring countries the right to control the airspace, the upper airspace, over the country which is on strike? I know it's a critical question, difficult one, but that's typical solution that we have to envisage together. So as a conclusion, resilience is at the core of aviation. It has multiple forms and various aspects. Improving the resilience of this industry is a common goal between all the stakeholders, including airlines, airports, NSPs, security agencies, and governments. And we rely on government, and we are looking forward to working more closely with government to improve the resilience of our aviation industry. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Director General. Thank you very much, Monsieur de Juniac. Do we have questions of clarification for the Director General of IATA? Clarification only, please. I'm not seeing flags go up, so one brief question, if you would, sir, and it relates to your statement at the outset that aviation is built on the exchange of information, and clearly aviation an extremely interconnected industry. So if you would just perhaps say a bit more about exchange of data, and in particular how you find the right balance between the need for open exchange of data and, on the other hand, security issues, because in fact IATA has said in the past that the flow of data is, in its view, not sufficiently seamless.
In fact, to ensure security, and especially to be able to have an efficient and effective control of the flow of passengers, but also the flow of goods that are transported on our aircraft, we need a very efficient and seamless data exchange between airlines and governments or security authorities, and between governments themselves, and between the aviation authorities and governments. The point there is we have not been able up to now to define the right set of data that we will be able to exchange related to passengers or to goods. Goods is probably more simple, but for passengers, we have different appreciation of the level and the number and the quality of the data that has to be exchanged. Or it's absolutely necessary, if you want to have seamless transportation system, if you want to avoid the queues at the airport or at the border control, to have something that is efficient, that is agreed, and that is easily exchanged. So we have a proposal for governments and for airlines and for airports to what is called one ID, one identity set of data that could be exchanged and could be the platform on which we could base the security check and the border control in the aviation business. So we are promoting that. I hope we will be able to convince governments to adopt it. We are working with you, of course.
Thank you very much. Any clarification questions still out there? We have a brief window of opportunity still remaining. Okay, then thank you very much, Mr. Dunjuniak, and we can pose questions again later on in the open discussion to him. It is now my honor to introduce our second guest speaker this morning. Mr. Joachim Dries is the chairman of the Commercial Vehicle Board of the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, ACEA, and he has also been CEO of MAN and of MAN Truck and Bus since 2015, and is a member of the management of Volkswagen Truck and Bus. Welcome to you, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear Excellencies, dear Ministers, dear authorities, ladies and gentlemen. I think what we heard already in the first speech is that well-functioning transport systems are absolutely vital to our today's economy. When we have unforeseen events of potentially catastrophic proportions taking place, such as serious accidents, global cyber attacks, acts of terrorism, unfortunately, and of course environmental disasters, transport can be heavily disrupted. Such disruptions may cascade along supply chains and affect not only parts of the economy, but the entire sector, the economy maybe as a whole, and perhaps even all of our society, given today's behavior of people, how they do their daily life. Today, as the chairman of the Commercial Vehicle Board of the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, I would like to cover three main topics in which our commercial vehicle industry is strengthening its resilience. This is namely connectivity and automated driving, digitalization with focus on cybersecurity, and of course alternative powertrains with focus on decarbonization. Let's look at connectivity and automated driving. Connectivity and automated driving provide unprecedented opportunities for every part of our economy. But this is especially true from an automotive and of course from a transport sector point of view. Today's heavy-duty vehicles are increasingly connected. Data is widely and wirelessly exchanged between the vehicles on the one side, the infrastructure surrounding them, and of course, the service providers in our space. Tomorrow's vehicles will be automated and autonomous, even though the discussion when we have no driver in place is still out there. They will be capable of sensing their environment, and of course they are supporting the drivers heavily to become a more resilient part of the system. These advances, which I just described, will contribute on improving road safety, reducing fuel consumption, and of course improving air quality, and of course, most importantly, facilitating also better traffic management. But when talking about the impact of connected and automated driving on the resilience of road transport, we should also look at this from a more systemic level. Heavy-duty vehicles are becoming an integrated part of the data chain and, of course, of the Internet of Things. This allows us, as manufacturers, to offer vehicles and new services that strengthen the resilience of road transport, which benefit our customers and end users. Truck platooning is a great example to create a more resilient transport system. For those of you who are not familiar with the word truck platooning, it is linking of multiple trucks in a convoy using the latest technology and innovations in connectivity and automation. This leads to less accidents, less downtime, and of course to increased resilience. Looking at our digitalization with focus on cybersecurity, these new levels of connectivity of course present major opportunities, but opportunities come normally not without risks. And one of these is the threat of cyber attacks, either on the data chain between involved supply chain parties, or on a smaller scale, maybe on a fleet, or even smaller, maybe only at the vehicle as such. Attackers may, for instance, compromise personal data, threaten vehicle systems, or endanger the safety of passengers. Keeping cybersecurity risks under control is therefore of crucial importance to us and essential to ensuring the resilience of our transport networks. That is why European auto manufacturers have chosen to tackle this issue head on. Firstly, every new data interface increases the number of potential targets for hackers. This is why ACEA believes that vehicle-generated data should be shared with third parties only if access is provided in a safe and a secure way. So countering cyber risks requires limiting the number of external interfaces. Secondly, the interfaces that are needed should be protected extremely well. Therefore, ACEA members are committed to being an integral part of the cyber security community, sharing crucial information with industry actors, public authorities, and of course the law enforcement authorities. Looking at the last point we'd like to raise today, alternative powertrains with focus on decarbonization. Over the past decades, truck makers have made great strides in reducing CO2 emissions. To put things in context, all transport modes in the EU are responsible of 25% CO2 emissions. The heavy-duty vehicles are responsible for only 1/5 of that. And at the same time, these trucks carry more than 70% of all land-based freight in the EU. We believe that CO2 standards have to be realistic. The proposal, the EU Commission and its reduction targets published last week have not been selected with the specific nature of the truck market in mind. To fulfill these, alternative powertrains will increasingly play in road transport, both for long-haul and inner-city delivery. Governments will have to facilitate this transition to secure resilience and flexibility. For example, by investing in the necessary refueling and charging infrastructure, installation of dedicated infrastructure will be key to back up OEM R&D activities to secure the sustainability of the future road transport system. Only by working together with governments, our industry will be able to make progress in making decarbonization part of a more resilient and sustainable transport system. Coming to my conclusion, indeed, connectivity and automated driving, digitalization with a focus on cyber security, alternative powertrains with a focus on decarbonization are the major trends that are redefining the EU heavy-duty vehicle industry at this moment. Not only are they important to strengthening our industry's global leadership when it comes to cutting technology and the environment, they are also key to making our entire transport system more resilient. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Drees. Do we have questions for clarification to Mr. Drees? Clarification only, please, at the moment. Raise your flag if you do have one. Okay, then brief follow-up, if you would. You mentioned at the outset several threats, in your view, to the security of commercial vehicles, but perhaps you can just say a bit more about what additional significant threats you think commercial vehicles do face today, and what sort of solutions will ensure the security and resilience of both transport infrastructure and also operations.
Well, I think it's a very good question. Thank you very much. I think there are several other threats, obviously, out there when it comes to commercial vehicles. I think one of the most obvious ones is obviously the cargo theft. There's a multi-billion euro problem in cargo which is getting stolen. Yeah? So that is certainly one big issue in the whole transport chain. Another one, which I think you can also see from when you look at Calais, at the channel, you see that sometimes irregular immigrants try to get on trucks, actually entering the trucks, get on the transport. And it's not only because they're irregular immigrants, it's also very dangerous for those persons because they might suffocate in the truck or in the back of the truck. So I think this is a way of a threat. And then, of course, I think mostly, and actually one probably of the most important ones is the terrorist attacks, which we have seen, unfortunately, over the last year, where heavy-duty vehicles are used as a weapon, basically, to use as a terrorist for terrorist attacks. I think, how can we solve these issues? I mean, first of all, of course, we have to make sure that we have and I think it's somewhat similar, but also we heard before from IATA, is that we have to make sure that we have an entry system for the trucks, which makes sure that only authorized drivers are actually potentially driving these vehicles. I think we have to prepare security scenarios. I think we have to further support, of course, research on transport security, which we need to do jointly with, of course, authorities and governments. And we need to make, have to try to manage the supply chain risks jointly together, again, with the safety authorities, with the security, with everybody involved in the transportation system. I think only by that we can actually maybe avoid some of that. And of course, what do we need? We need to have an infrastructure, which I call a digital infrastructure, and it's sometimes amazing how much more we have to do in Europe in order to get a fully functioning infrastructure. Just from my own experience going on highways, when we lose signal, this is of course something which cannot happen if you want to have an integrated approach on safety and resilience of the transport system.
Thank you very much to Mr. Drees. And again, you will also be available for additional questions and comments during our open discussion section. So we move on now to our third guest speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce Madam Gloria Guevara Manzo. She is the President and CEO of the World Travel and Tourism Council, formerly Mexico's Minister of Tourism and head of its National Tourism Board. She also served as CEO of JV Sabre, Mexico. A warm welcome to you. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Melinda. Your Excellencies, Secretary General, dear friends, good morning. Thank you for inviting World Travel and Tourism Council to be here today, this morning. Please allow me to quickly explain the role of WTTC, or World Travel and Tourism Council. We are the body that represents travel and tourism private sector globally. We represent all industries in all geographies. For more than 25 years, WTTC has quantified the economic impact in 185 countries of travel and tourism. The research shows that our sector is the best partner for governments to drive economic growth and create jobs. Let me share with you some of the numbers of 2017. Travel and tourism contributed $7.6 trillion globally. That was equivalent to 10.4% of the GDP. That's 10%, 10.4. 313 million jobs around the world. That's 1 of every 10 jobs in the planet. And while last year, the economy in the world grew an average of 3%, travel and tourism grew 4.6%, which means that the GDP for travel and tourism grew 50% more. Now, we see also that travel and tourism grew more than other sectors, such as banking, finance, retail, and agriculture, for instance. Our sector is made of industries, such as hospitality, cruises, tour operators, travel agents, technology companies, for instance. Transportation is the backbone of travel and tourism. The airlines, the rail, the sea, the road, all those companies allow to travel to happen. According to UNWTO, over 1.3 billion people crossed international borders last year. And Alexandre mentioned already that according to IATA, we had 4 billion passengers in 2017, a new record. Only a very small fraction of these trips are disrupted in any way. But travel and tourism is impacted in every single crisis, weather-related, natural disasters, outbreaks, political security. Every single crisis impacts the sector. So it is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and where. We cannot predict when is the next crisis, but we can be prepared and do a better job minimizing that impact. So WTTC recommends to focus in 3 areas, basically. 1, our research shows that the most resilient destinations in the face of a crisis are the ones that are planned or planned fully, and they involve all the stakeholders, especially the private sector. I can tell you that we do a lot of research. We can tell you exactly what was the impact in Barcelona, Paris, every single crisis. And what we have seen in the destinations that they plan and the private sector was engaged, we see between 4 of 8 weeks, for instance, and with a similar crisis in destinations that they were not prepared, the recovery takes almost 4 years. So why do we see that difference? That's because of their involvement. Now, we have research, as I say, that shows the different cases, and the more prepared we see the destinations, the more resilient they are. Now, number 2, we must put the customer, or the traveler, or the citizen at the heart of the response. We have to be proactive, communicate quickly, and transparent. So the more that we adopt that customer-centric approach, the better it is for the destinations, the more resilient we will be. And the third one is the post-crisis. The post-crisis is as important as the preparation and managing the crisis. I don't know if you know this, but according to the World Health Organization, more people die in Africa due to the impact of the crisis than from Ebola. That's very interesting because that tells you about the impact in the post-crisis and the management. Lastly, we truly believe that technology can help us to increase security, can help us in the post-crisis, and can help us throughout the process. And this is why we need your help. Biometric is just one example of the technology. It provides a solution to many of our problems. It allows, for instance, in case of the transfer infrastructure that we don't have enough, IATA already mentioned from 4 billion passengers, we're hoping to grow to 7.8 billion, and we don't see that with the current infrastructure in place and the existing processes. Biometrics can help us to improve the process and have more travelers with existing infrastructure. Biometrics can help us to increase security because we have a greater precision over the traveler identity. And instead of implementing inefficiency and processes that add no value post-crisis, we believe that the technology can have a better role. Biometrics also can help us to improve, as I say, the efficiency of the passenger journey. The world has already embarked upon this journey. Some countries, such as Australia, the US, and the UK, and our host here today, Germany, are leading the way with others. But many countries have a lot of work to do. According to ICAO, there are still over 50 countries that they don't have the capability to accept e-passports, for instance. I invite you today, Ministers of Transportation, to partner with us, travel and tourism private sector, to speed up the adoption of biometrics and the technology throughout the entire passenger journey. Last year, I don't know if you're aware, from all the jobs that they were created, 1 of every 5 were related with travel and tourism. A couple of weeks ago, we had the opportunity to be in Argentina, a beautiful country with an amazing leadership. We published in the T20 meeting that there is an opportunity to create between 7 and 19 million jobs if we work together. We will create those jobs, but we need your support. So if we work together, we will have taken another step in making our transportation and tourism systems more secure, more resilient, and maximize the opportunity to create jobs in your country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to WTTC President Guevara. Are there clarification questions for Madame Guevara? Then perhaps one brief follow-up to you as well, and that concerns other forms of innovation. You mentioned the need for more widespread use of biometric passports, but beyond that, where do you see potential opportunities that will be provided by innovation, particularly in the field of data? That is something that is emphasized by the Minister's Declaration published today, and particularly perhaps innovations that could minimize dislocation and risk for consumers.
That's a very good question. Thank you. I celebrate that they have included innovation in the declaration because there's a lot of technology available that can be used to make our lives easier. I think here it has 2 answers. One, the partnership with the private sector is crucial, and that partnership will help us to move forward, use the technology and exchange data for the benefit of the traveler, for the benefit of the countries, and to create jobs. There's a lot of technology that can help us, as I say, just as biometrics, to have a better traveler experience, to have a much more secure experience, and to maximize the capacity that we have. We are working from the private sector in multiple initiatives, and now we're engaging with the governments also in a harmonized approach to use the technology and the processes in this journey. That being said, the same technology can also help us in crisis management. As I say, we do a lot of research. We monitor the impact. When it's not a matter of if, there will be crises, but when we are prepared and we use the technology and the private sector is engaged early on, we'll recover faster. And if we recover faster, you can minimize the impact and have less people impacted as we have seen in the past and as we have quantified. So, as I say, there are multiple technologies that we can use. Biometrics is just one of them. But at the end of the day, it's crucial to have this collaboration and not have a silo approach that will complicate the process and the ecosystem of the travel industry.
Thank you very much. So with that, I would like to now invite you to take your seat again, Madam Manso, and then we will open the floor now for the general discussion. And as I said, I said 7, but in fact we have 8 pre-registered comments. So we would begin with those, and I can remind those countries which did pre-register which they are. And I'll just do it in the order in which you are invited to speak: Argentina, China, the United States, the Russian Federation, France, Japan, Portugal, and Romania. So Argentina, would you like to get the proceedings started? And again, 3 minutes, if you would, please, Excellencies, for these pre-registered statements. Go ahead, please, Minister.
Thank you very much. Two issues. One is that in a world that is moving too fast, it's really very important to work together, private and public sector. So are very valorated all the advice that you give us to improve these sectors. The second one, and for that, we must be all the time more open to listen, to work together to improve in this world that is moving so fast. The second issue that I think that also it has a very big impact in the system more resilient is the gender agenda. Here we are 50 people in this round table, and perhaps are 16 women. So, being a man, I think that we must compromise, all of us, to have more women in this round table. Here is our Secretary of Public Transport with me, and this will have a big impact to be more resilient, to change more quickly, to be at the needs that our time, that the needs that for this time that we're living in our world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Dietrich. We have a pre-registered comment as well from China. Minister Cheng, please.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here and share with you the experience of transport safety and the security management of China. Firstly, quality infrastructure is important. Over the years, Chinese government have continuously improved transportation infrastructure and paid close attention to the construction and the operation monitoring of safety facility so as to provide safe and convenient service for the public, such as the Chinese central government applied for the funds and encourage local transport department to conduct highway safety guard rail. Only for the ordinary road. And reconstruction dangerous bridge, also new road has been designed much safer, which effectively enhance the safety level of highway transport infrastructure in China. Second, set up and improve regulatory system. Time is limited, so I don't want to go in detail. Third, modern technology applications. In recent years, the Chinese government required that intercity buses and coaches and vehicles for transporting dangerous chemical goods should be installed with satellite positioning device with journey record functions. The local government are encouraged to fully utilize artificial intelligence and internet technology to monitoring drivers' behaviors so as to timely detect, warn, and handle illegal behaviors, such as fatigue driving and checking mobile. Fourth, strengthen enterprise safety and security responsibility in order to ensure effective implementation of relevant laws and regulations. All levels of Chinese government have been held accountable for safety production, supervision, and inspection, and urging enterprises to implement laws and regulations as well as safety production standards. Fifth, the qualification of employees is the key. According to the safety production laws, the government department in charge should conduct assessment on main principle and safety management personnel of enterprise. Relevant training should be conducted. The accident case analysis and lesson learning mechanism should be established to conduct precautionary education and strengthen safety awareness of employee. There are, as a part of experience, in recent years, we also face many challenges on transport safety and security, such as extreme weather, typhoon, and earthquake, unconventional security challenges from terrorism, and so on. So Chinese government is willing to work closely with the ITF member countries and make our contribution to the safer, more secure, smarter transport. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. I had on my list United States. Are you interested in giving a comment? Okay, please, thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. I will hopefully be shorter than 3 minutes. Wanted to thank you all for the time again, and again wanted to reiterate it's such an exciting time to be in transportation. We're going to see more changes in the next 5 years than we have seen in the last century. And wanted to talk about two important lessons we've learned as a country that hopefully we pass along, that as we solve and address many of these new mobility innovations, we will do it in a safe, responsible manner. Number one, it is, we've touched on this briefly, but it is so important to acknowledge that data is perhaps the most critical piece of all of this, that as we collect data, analyze data, and really secure the data, that is going to be an important lesson for our citizens to trust that policymakers are pursuing a prudent course. In recent months, the United States has issued a number of requests for information, requests for comments from the public sector, from private sector, industry partners, and stakeholders such as safety advocates, asking to let us know what regulations inhibit innovation and things like truck platooning, as we heard earlier. One of the interesting things we've learned is a lot of the language we use, in fact, restricts growth, because we use language that is 20th century language for 21st century technology. For instance, the driver of a truck. We've realized that many of our laws refer to the responsibilities of a truck driver. However, in the future, if you have driverless trucks, then the term driver or truck driver is no longer necessary, which creates regulatory hurdles for things like truck platooning. And so later this year, the United States government will be issuing a report highlighting a number of rules and regulations in which terms and concepts restrict growth. We are happy to share this with all the transportation ministers around the table here, and hopefully it will serve as some of what we're doing in the United States as each of you examine the regulations you're passing. One final note. There seems to be more autonomous vehicle companies testing in the United States than almost anywhere else. And one of the common refrains we've heard from dozens of companies, literally about 24 companies have said they would love to test in countries around the world. However, there are oftentimes specific rules and regulations, whether it's on data sharing, data privacy, whether it's on specific terms like drivers, that hold them back. And so as a government, we wanted to offer ourselves as a resource. If countries are interested in having some of the US technology companies test in your respective countries, please let us know after. Because I think all of us believe that in 40, 50 years, it's going to be a 22-year-old kid that solves a lot of the mobility problems, so that when we, in our golden years, need to get around town, we'll have a self-driving car, a self-driving walker, and a self-driving cane to get us around town. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Secretary. I will go now to Bosnia and the Minister, please.
Thank you so much. One more time. Big hello for all colleagues and ministers. Each of us in this room want to reduce road traffic incidents. When we saw this statistic, every day 3,500 people died every day. But for me, what is much more worst, every day 500 kids died in road traffic incidents. Now we can imagine if in this room run 500 kids, how many engineers, how many doctors, how many leaders, how many sportsmen we lose every day because drunk driver who drive too speed, who speak on cell phone, etc., take his chance to live. Today and yesterday we heard many times, good practice, good practice, good practice. It's time to organize one conference where each of us, to recommend good practice. In the last 2 years, how much I'm on this position, I was on many conferences and I heard many times good practice, but I never had the opportunity to see good practice from other countries. If you want to reduce traffic incidents, it's time to exchange good practice. Probably I can hear something from my colleague from Norway, from Montenegro, from Serbia, from another country, but if we put that on the table and exchange between each others, probably we can reduce road traffic incidents in the future. Bosnia and Herzegovina is not part of the European Union, but when we're talking about road safety, we have not border between each other. Somebody from Bosnia can go in the United States, in Germany, etc., and have that problem, or somebody from that country can come in our country and have same problems. In this room, most of us have big responsibility and probably opportunity to give good recommendation to change a lot of things in our countries. Question is not, can we do that? Answer is, yes, we can, but when we stick together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I'll go now to the Deputy Minister from the Russian Federation. Please, go ahead.
Уважаемые дамы и господа, уважаемый председательствующий, я благодарю за выбор столь актуальной темы для нашего саммита. Действительно, вопросы безопасности носят ключевой характер, являются высшим приоритетом не только для Министерства транспорта, но и для всего российского правительства. Мы уже поучаствовали в 3 круглых столах, планируем еще подискутировать на пленарном заседании по вопросам инновации. Действительно, в силу трансграничного характера перевозок мы не можем не обсуждать на международной арене вопросы безопасности на транспорте. Именно поэтому Российская Федерация выступила инициатором десятилетия действий ООН в сфере безопасности дорожного движения. У нас в стране принята федеральная программа по повышению безопасности дорожного движения. В ней участвуют практически все министерства и ведомства. В рамках этой программы мы реализуем мероприятия как по улучшению транспортной инфраструктуры, так и по повышению образовательного уровня. Мы очень много говорим сейчас о переходе на беспилотный транспорт. У нас такие наработки тоже есть, но пока человеческий фактор занимает очень большое место в перевозках, и мы должны, конечно, заниматься пропагандированием среди водителей и людей, связанных с безопасностью, особому вниманию к этой сфере. Также я бы хотел обратить внимание на тот потенциал, который внесет в себе система спутниковой навигации ГЛОНАСС. Она развернута на территории нашей страны, уже 1 миллион транспортных средств к ней подключено, и это позволяет спасти тысячи жизней. Мы сможем с помощью этой системы реагировать на аварии, но помимо безопасности людей, эта система позволяет также нам решать вопросы и экономической безопасности, отслеживать движение не только транспортных средств, автобусов. Мы ввели обязательное оснащение всех автобусов системой спутниковой навигации. Мы отслеживаем перемещение грузов с тем, чтобы не допустить недоплаты налогов или таможенных платежей. Безусловно, мы должны отслеживать перемещение нежелательных лиц, которые могут иметь отношение к организациям террористической направленности. И вот такой комплекс мер позволит нам существенно повысить безопасность. Я также благодарю за сохраняющееся внимание к совершенствованию системы ЕКМТ. Она стояла в основе Международного транспортного форума. Очень большое влияние имеет хартия качества, к которой мы тоже присоединились и полностью выполнили ее условия. Рассчитываем, что окончательное применение всех положений хартии качества позволит всем странам снять ограничения, и тогда система ЕКМТ сможет занять лидирующие позиции при осуществлении международных автомобильных перевозок. Еще раз благодарю организаторов за высокое качество подготовки нашего форума. Спасибо.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. And we'll go right next door to the Vice Minister from Finland, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, transport is taking a new step with fast technological progress and transforming itself to a service. The whole transport system is getting digitalized and automated, and it's more and more based on the utilization of data. At the same time, connected and automated driving is paving the way for the future of mobility. Transport and communications networks present critical infrastructure in our modern societies. Major disruption of services or disasters affecting networks is bound to have severe impact on our citizens, economy, and society in general. We need to transform our transport infrastructure to a new digitalized era. Our challenge is to create a fully digital infrastructure that serves all the needs of the society. It is important that people can have more user-friendly travel experience and that they can trust the transport services and that they are of high quality. Data is the key enabler for our society and our economy. Data provides also means to enhance resilience and to make better decisions also in the times and incidents and crises. We need to make sure that our traffic system produces and uses high-quality data. And we must also make sure that algorithms and artificial intelligence can use this data in an interoperable and responsible manner in order to make traffic more safe and resilient. For that, we have 3 points. Firstly, we need to ensure that the availability of high-quality traffic data for purposes that can ethically improve traffic safety. Traffic data produced in different sensors, vehicles, mobile devices, and in servers should be available for improving traffic safety. Secondly, we should also create an environment where data can and must be shared between different stakeholders in an interoperable manner. In other words, we need to agree on user rights on public and private traffic data. Thirdly, we should concentrate our efforts to create competitive edge only to such businesses and service providers which use traffic data ethically and sustainably for the sake of citizens. This means also that we have a common understanding on how to protect citizens and enterprises from unproportioned restrictions of their right to confidentiality, of communications and privacy, whether such violations are conducted by businesses, criminals, or authorities. Security of transport systems remains high on the policy agenda across ITF member countries, especially in the wake of terrorist attacks and natural disasters that have prompted calls for increased efforts to ensure that transport infrastructure and operations remain secure, safe, and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. And moving again one seat over to France and Madame Dumoulin-Vyshkorkiewicz.
Merci. Merci pour vos efforts pour prononcer mon deuxième nom qui est polonais. C'est pour ça que c'était compliqué, c'est Wyszkorkiewicz. Comme quoi, vous voyez, l'Union européenne est un grand pays avec plein de mélanges de nationalités. Je ne vais pas revenir sur l'importance de la résilience, ça a été beaucoup abordé par les différents intervenants. On a effectivement notre augmentation de la mobilité et surtout cet aspect transnational de la mobilité et le fait que tous les transports sont aujourd'hui mêlés. On n'a plus, effectivement, comme ça a été très bien démontré par les trois intervenants du début, un seul mode de transport à prendre de façon isolée. Et on a également, effectivement, des crises nouvelles et des façons nouvelles de devoir aborder nos problèmes et qui nécessitent cette résilience. On a bien entendu les épisodes climatiques extrêmes, on a des problèmes de sûreté. Comme il a été beaucoup question des données déjà, moi je vais parler un peu d'autre chose. Il nous semble que pour un État, ce qui est extrêmement important, c'est à la fois l'anticipation et la capacité d'intégration dans les réponses que l'on apporte pour être en capacité justement de répondre à l'ensemble des enjeux en même temps. Et je pense que ça, c'est vraiment l'enjeu des pays aujourd'hui. Donc, on a besoin d'une coordination qui est à la fois horizontale et verticale. Alors, je veux dire par là, l'État doit travailler avec, d'une part, les échelons locaux, régionaux et même au niveau des villes. Et donc, il doit s'organiser dans sa structuration, mais il doit également travailler avec ses voisins. On le voit tous les jours avec, évidemment, les trafics transfrontaliers qui sont des trafics quotidiens des citoyens. Et dès qu'il y a une crise, qu'elle soit ferroviaire ou qu'elle soit routière, ça a un impact direct sur l'économie. Et donc, ça nécessite également une capacité à travailler sur l'ensemble des métiers, puisqu'on a des métiers différents. On a des métiers qui sont liés aux infrastructures, on a des métiers qui sont liés à l'exploitation des transports, on a des métiers liés à la sûreté, des métiers liés à la sécurité. Donc nous essayons de mettre en place des plans nationaux qui sont, il faut bien le dire, actuellement plutôt tournés vers la mobilité du quotidien, parce que ça nous semble être un des enjeux les plus importants que nous avons. Cette mobilité du quotidien, elle nécessite un travail à la fois sur les infrastructures et un travail sur les exploitations. Elle nécessite également la mise en commun de l'ensemble des acteurs, les collectivités, les opérateurs de transport, les citoyens. Elle nécessite également la mise en commun avec les plans de gestion du trafic qui sont mis en place au niveau local. Ça aussi, c'est extrêmement important. On a aussi besoin de réactualiser ces plans au fur et à mesure, parce qu'on a régulièrement de nouvelles sources d'inquiétude et de nouveaux besoins. Et ça aussi, c'est nécessaire de travailler sur la réactualisation des plans. Enfin, je terminerai sur un dernier sujet qui nous apparaît extrêmement important en matière d'anticipation, c'est évidemment les impacts liés au changement climatique. Les impacts liés au changement climatique, que ce soit à travers les épisodes climatiques extrêmes ou à travers la détérioration des infrastructures, sont un sujet sur lequel les États doivent anticiper à très long terme. Et donc il faut absolument intégrer dans nos plans d'adaptation nationaux les éléments transport et les éléments de résilience des infrastructures et des modes d'exploitation qui doivent être prévus extrêmement en avance. Et c'est très c'est très global. On doit passer en revue l'adaptation de l'ensemble des référentiels techniques pour la construction, pour l'entretien, pour l'exploitation des infrastructures et des matériels de transport. On doit élaborer des méthodologies qui soient harmonisées pour les diagnostics de vulnérabilité. On doit conduire des analyses de risque pour les infrastructures, qu'elles soient routières, ferroviaires, aéroportuaires. Donc l'ensemble de ces sujets-là doivent être pris en compte dans le contexte nouveau du changement climatique. Alors je terminerai en disant, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, que l'ensemble de la résilience des transports, elle se place également au niveau international, et donc c'est très utile qu'on ait cette discussion dans le cadre du Forum international des transports, et c'est très utile qu'on se préoccupe de ces questions-là dans un cadre comme celui-là, parce que, comme cela a été très bien dit par les intervenants du début, c'est ensemble que les États pourront trouver des solutions pour la résilience des transports. Merci pour votre attention.
Merci à vous. I would like to come now to Morocco and the Vice Minister. Please, the floor is yours.
Si, Madame, je voudrais juste faire une petite proposition suite aux 3 interventions qui ont été faites, et puis j'ai une invitation à vous faire. Donc, la proposition, c'est effectivement concernant le fait que la sécurité et la sûreté de l'ensemble des modes de transport, que ce soit aérien, ferroviaire, maritime ou terrestre, envers toutes les composantes de ce monde du transport, que ce soit les voyageurs, les marchandises, mais aussi le matériel et l'environnement, les différents risques qui sont là, pas seulement des risques au niveau du matériel, mais aussi des risques terroristes et autres. Je me demande s'il n'est pas possible, effectivement, au sein du FIT, d'avoir une entité, pas forcément statistique, mais une entité pluridisciplinaire, dont le but essentiel serait de coordonner, mais aussi d'analyser et de divulguer les données sur la sûreté et la sécurité auprès des membres du FIT, et ce, dont l'objectif essentiel, effectivement, de faire de la prévention et pourquoi pas de l'anticipation. Donc ça, c'est juste une idée, une proposition, s'il est possible donc de l'adapter au sein du FIT. Pour l'invitation, je profite de l'occasion qu'il s'agit d'un forum sur la sécurité et la sûreté pour vous inviter au premier forum africain sur la sécurité et la sûreté des modes de transport qui sera organisé à Marrakech, au Maroc, entre le 13 et le 15 novembre 2018, et dont l'objectif essentiel, c'est effectivement de pouvoir ouvrir le forum, le FIT, comme M. Kim l'a bien dit au départ, de pouvoir s'ouvrir sur les autres continents et pourquoi pas sur les autres cultures, pour pouvoir au moins faire un échange d'expériences, de bonnes pratiques, et pourquoi pas une bonne partie de ce que nous avons discuté ici, au sein de ces 3 jours, pourquoi pas être utile au cours de ce forum qui se tiendra à Marrakech, Inch'Allah. Donc, je vais me permettre de vous envoyer tous une invitation formelle, et j'espère que vous ferez partie de ce forum, essentiellement pour qu'on puisse échanger ce qu'on a dit ici avec nos compatriotes africains. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. And I will come now to New Zealand and the Vice Minister there. Please, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Greetings to everyone, the speakers and my colleagues. I have 3 very quick points. Firstly, I want to acknowledge and thank the Minister for Transport from Argentina for his point about the importance in gender equality in transport. If we are going to improve resilience, safety, and security, I do think that we need to ensure that there are more diverse voices at the table, and particularly important to have women's voices heard in the planning of transport policy and projects. I wonder if this forum would consider how it could support a network of women in transport. Secondly, climate change. I don't think we can consider safety, security, or resilience without climate change being at the center of it. And so, as we know, all of you know, my colleagues, that extreme weather events and other security-related disruptions are quite likely to increase with climate change, and therefore, planning for safety, security, and resilience must have reducing dangerous greenhouse gas emissions from the transport sector at the heart of it. And thirdly, I've heard much about vehicle technology and how much that is going to revolutionize transport. And I agree there is great potential with technology and data, but I just want to caution that whatever technological changes that may be before us, we must ensure that they serve the outcomes we want for our communities, in safety, security, and included in that, I would emphasize health outcomes for our people and for the climate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I will go now to Portugal and the Minister, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I will use my 3 minutes to talk about disruption. Disruption on failing electronic systems, extreme weather conditions, crashes, crimes, terrorism, among others. Increases in demand and supply of transports are putting pressure on the resilience of supply chains. For instance, in aviation, many major airports are operating close to capacity, and Portugal is not an exception. Operational resilience is perceived as the ability to prevent, manage, and recover from disruption. If, for instance, an event is accurately forecasted, in the case of weather conditions, it is possible to prepare accordingly by positioning staff and equipment in the right place, in the right time to ensure operational continuity. Technology, in fact, can be of the great use for different moments. Technology system can play a decisive role of detection and early warning of degradation of components, flood detection, of submerged lane, detection of intrusion into the railway, for instance. An analytical surveillance system can be a good resource of confirming these warnings. To recover from a disruptive event, there should be clear plans for how to convert back the paradigm to business as usual. But finally, there is a role that has a decisive path, that is the human factor, the main role. And the thing is that we need to promote security culture with watchful transfer professional. At the same time, the management of information from the past, namely learning from experience in order to strengthen knowledge of organizational structures. Finally, the major issue is sharing of information between those directly involved on outstanding role of international cooperation. For that, cooperation network must be pre-established and professionals should share good practices and expertise in a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we now have spontaneous interventions registered from several of you. I'll ask you to please keep your comments fairly brief so that we can perhaps get in all of those who still have their flags up. I'll go first to Turkey, please. The floor is yours.
Sayın Başkan, çok teşekkür ediyorum. Öncelikle benden önce konuşan çok değerli bakanlarımız, emniyet ve güvenlik ve dayanıklılıkla ilgili çok güzel temennilerde bulundular. Ben her birisine ayrı ayrı teşekkür ediyorum. Benim de uluslararası sistemlerin dayanıklılığı ile ilgili söyleyeceğim birkaç hususun altını çizmek istiyorum. Ulaştırma sistemlerinin dayanıklılığı, sistemdeki aksamalar sonucu ortaya çıkan etkilerin zamanında ve etkin bir şekilde anlaşılarak bunlara hızlı şekilde cevap verilmesi ve operasyonel devamlılığının sağlanmasına bağlıdır. Bu bağlamda işleyişte aksamalar baş gösterdiğinde muhtelif ulaştırma seçeneklerinin sunulması elzemdir. Örneğin bir ya da daha fazla ulaştırma modunda aksaklık olduğunda kolayca erişilebilir alternatif ulaşım modlarından faydalanılabilmelidir. Diğer taraftan dayanıklı bir ulaştırma sisteminin farklı enerji kaynaklarının kullanılabilmesi, kesintisiz hizmet sağlanabilmesi için kritik öneme sahiptir. Sadece veya büyük oranda fosil yakıtlara dayanan bir ulaştırma sistemi, fosil yakıt fiyatlarındaki ani artışlar ya da kaynakların tükenmesi sonucu işleyemez hale gelecektir. Değerli konuklar, dayanıklı bir ulaştırma sisteminin parçalarını oluşturan etmenlerin dayandığı ana bir husus vardır ki, o da ulaştırma sistemlerine yapılan yatırımlardır. Ulaştırma sistemlerine yapılacak yatırımlar artık sadece büyümeyi hedeflememeli. küresel ölçekte sürdürülebilir ve dayanıklı ulaştırma sistemlerinin desteklenmesi gerekmektedir. Tabii ki bu yatırımların modlar ve ulaştırma ile ilgili tüm sektörler arasında dengeli bir şekilde yapılması da önem arz etmektedir. Ancak bu şekilde sistemin kesintisiz işleyişi sağlanabilecektir. Bu bağlamda bilgi ve iletişim teknolojilerine yatırım yapılması gereklidir. Ulaştırma sistemlerinin dayanıklılığı, daha önce de belirttiğim gibi kriz anlarında ortaya çıkan olumsuz koşullara hızgın ve etkin cevap verilebilmesinde yatmaktadır. Kriz anında doğru kararlar almak verinin gücüne bağlıdır. Anlık verilerin süratli, geçerli ve doğru olarak karar verici iletilmesi önemlidir. Burada ileri bilgi teknolojiden yararlanmak gereği de doğmaktadır. Günümüzde yapay zeka, büyük veri analitiği gibi çözümlemeler ile gerilime dair olası riskler belirlenebilmektedir. Saygıdeğer bakanlar, çok değerli katılımcılar, küreselleşen dünyamızda gerek ekonomik, gerekse sosyokültürel anlamda ülkeler arasındaki etkileşimler, teknolojideki hızlı ilerlemelerle birlikte artık geri döndürülemeyecek şekilde birbirine bağlı ve hatta bağımlı hale gelmektedir. Dünyanın herhangi bir yerinde ulaştırma sistemlerinde meydana gelen bir aksama, küresel etkilere sahip olabilmektedir. Dolayısıyla ülkelerimiz arasında etkin, siyasi ve teknik uluslararası işbirliği kaçınılmazdır. Ben burada Sayın Alexander Janiak'ın ve Bayan Galeria Guevara'nın söylediklerinin önemli olduğunun altını çizmek istiyorum. Yine ayrıca Fas Bakanımızın bahsettiği konunun da dikkate alınması gerektiği inancındayım. Türkiye'de ulaştırma sistemlerinin iyileştirilmesi ve daha dayanıklı hale getirilmesinde gerek ülkeler arası koordinasyon ve işbirlikleri, gerekse uluslararası kuruluşlar bazında bu alanda gösterilen çabalara her zaman destek vermeye hazırdır. Aynı zamanda iyi örneklerin uygulanması konusunda da azimli ve kararlı tavrımızı sürdürmeye devam etmekteyiz. Ben bize söz verdiğiniz için teşekkür ediyorum Sayın Başkan.
Thank you very much, and I'll come now to Canada and the Deputy Minister. Please, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I will start by echoing my colleagues from New Zealand and thanking the Minister of Argentina for his kind remarks about gender opportunities in the transportation sector, so thank you. It is certainly a very exciting time for technology, particularly in the transportation sector, where we are seeing new entrants and new business models, including mobility solutions through digital technology and software-driven innovation. New technologies certainly present a transformative opportunity to improve the safety, efficiency, and environmental performance of transportation systems, which can increase mobility choices, lower costs for users and travelers, and create new economic opportunities. However, incorporating these technologies in the transport sector will also have socio-economic impacts that could reduce opportunity and access and their benefit to certain groups without the right legislative and policy frameworks in place to make the changes work for everyone. This is the reason why the Government of Canada is supporting the development of policies and tools to promote innovation and enable the testing and the use of new technologies, notably automated and connected vehicles and drones. In parallel, the Government of Canada has also made public commitments through the introduction of the Innovation and Skills Plan. This includes significant investment to support industrial and technology sectors, which includes the Strategic Innovation Fund, the Innovation Superclusters Initiative, the Artificial Strategy, and Smart Cities Challenges. Recently, the Government of Canada has also launched a regulatory reform agenda which focuses on supporting innovation and business investments. Under this new agenda, the Canadian regulatory system will become more agile and more responsive, with a focus on reducing regulatory bottlenecks that inhibit innovation and growth in areas including transportation and infrastructure. Canada's approach, while national in scope, will certainly seek to drive increased coordination between agencies and jurisdiction within Canada, but also internationally. achieving international policy and regulatory alignment must be pursued in order to successfully integrate transformative technologies in our interconnected transportation system. On that note, we look forward to continue to work with ITF on these matters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're very close to the end of our time. I will try to get in the last two comments that where the flags are up, but may I ask for very brief remarks, and I'll begin, please, with Thailand. Go ahead, very briefly, if you would.
Thank you very much.
We'll take Thailand first, and then we'll come to you, sir, from Poland. Yes.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting Thailand to participate in the ITF 2018 for the third time. And actually, when they came into the forum this morning, yesterday, it appears that we have the 3,500 fatality every day. I just wonder where this number come from the which part of the world. So we have to understand that the 3,500 come from the Europe, from America, or from the Asia, or from the advanced, or from less developed country. But however, we also heard about the safe system approach, which I think we have to clearly identify what it means by the safe system approach. But I think I have the couple of points that I would like to mention. First, there is the built-in the safety at the beginning of the design. Roads and other infrastructure is needed, because sometimes that we are careful of the budget constraint, and we neglect of the safety measure when we start the construction. Secondly, strengthening the safety audit for all roads, emphasizing in the highway system. I think this is a must. Otherwise, we don't know what is the weakness of the risk in each particular section of the road. Third is the data exchange is not to improve efficiency in economics, but also to minimize the social impact, and particularly in the cross-border connectivity in the security issue. We are talking about the climate change, we're talking about the terrorism, but we should also recognize the drugs and human trafficking as well. So particularly the country who share the border. Fourth is the focus on the truck and bus, the commercial vehicle. Regulation needs to be strengthened and enforce the responsibility, not only the driver, but also the company, the logistic, the truck owner, as well as the goods owner as well. Number 5 is the technology and innovation is needed. We're talking about the autonomous vehicle, but whether the autonomous vehicle is applicable for all countries or not, I think we need to carefully understand and look at this issue, because for less developed country and less advanced country, we still lack of the good infrastructure. But when we invest in infrastructure, then we have to look at the autonomous vehicle. Then it adds more investment for less capability country. And the last, I still believe in the safety culture. We have to build in the safety culture to our children and the youth. In Thailand, we start particularly Department of Highway and Rural Road. We also build the safety equipment and the roadside for the in front of school, kind of the school safety zone for the children. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I will come now as the last comment in this session to the Minister from Poland. Please, go ahead.
Dziękuję bardzo. Panie, Panowie Ministrowie, koleżanki, koledzy, Szanowni Państwo. Polska popiera i włącza się w proces zdynamizowanych działań w celu podniesienia poziomu bezpieczeństwa wszystkich uczestników ruchu drogowego przy konsekwentnym dążeniu do redukcji liczby wypadków drogowych. To jest niezmiernie ważne z punktu widzenia każdego państwa, abyśmy dążyli do tego absolutnego zminimalizowania liczby wypadków, a co za tym idzie również ofiar śmiertelnych i ciężko rannych w tychże wypadkach drogowych. Notujemy w Polsce stały spadek wypadków, ale ten proces przebiega zbyt wolno i zapewne w ocenie Państwa w stosunku do Waszych krajów również odnotowujecie tego typu sytuacje. Kluczową rolę w zakresie egzekwowania przepisów ruchu drogowego pełnią nowoczesne i zautomatyzowane systemy i technologie w Polsce stosowane i rozwijane. One są w Centrum Automatycznego Nadzoru nad Ruchem Drogowym. To jest instytucja rządowa, która działa w ramach Głównego Inspektoratu Transportu Drogowego i ten Główny Inspektorat podległy jest Ministerstwu Infrastruktury. W ramach tegoż systemu funkcjonują fotoradary, mobilne urządzenia rejestrujące urządzenia do odcinkowego pomiaru prędkości czy urządzenia rejestrujące wjazd na czerwonym świetle i inne nieprzepisowe zachowania kierowców. Ta infrastruktura jest montowana w ramach sieci dróg krajowych w celu poprawy bezpieczeństwa ruchu drogowego. Trwają prace rozwojowe dotyczące wzmocnienia obecnego systemu. Polska jest zainteresowana wykorzystaniem i rozwijaniem nowych technologii dla poprawy bezpieczeństwa na drogach oraz zmniejszania negatywnego wpływu transportu drogowego na środowisko. Wyrażamy swoje uznanie dla wysiłków podejmowanych na poziomie co najmniej europejskim w celu ukierunkowania i koordynacji działań wdrażających nowoczesne technologie. Mówimy wiele o nowoczesnych technologiach, ale nie mówimy o tym, że praktycznie w większości państw one są różne. Nie mówimy o tym, że warto wykorzystać chociażby projektowany, co znalazło swoje miejsce w pakiecie mobilności w Unii Europejskiej, projektowany jednolity system poboru opłat. Naszym zdaniem powinien on być wyposażony w wiele funkcjonalności, które będą pozwalały nie tylko nadzorować prawidłowe zachowania kierowców, ale pomagać wszystkim uczestnikom ruchu drogowego, chociażby w dostępie do wielu informacji, które przyczynią się do zwiększenia bezpieczeństwa. Więc w jakiejś mierze unifikacja tych systemów, co pozwoliłoby podróżującym korzystać z informacji, korzystać z wiedzy pomimo przekraczanych kolejnych granic, korzystać z wiedzy generowanych przez te systemy wsparcia użytkowników dróg w Europie i wręcz na całym świecie. Pragniemy zwrócić uwagę na to, że nie zbadano dotychczas realnego wpływu technologii autonomicznych pojazdów na poprawę bezpieczeństwa ruchu drogowego, w szczególności relacji wobec niechronionych uczestników ruchu drogowego i to też jest kolejne wyzwanie i to też kolejny kierunek, nad którym powinniśmy zintensyfikować swoje badania. Panie Przewodniczący, jeżeli można, wykorzystam to, że jestem przy głosie i spełnię prośbę mojego przyjaciela, ministra gospodarki morskiej i żeglugi śródlądowej Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej, który poprosił mnie, aby zaprosić wszystkich Państwa na 13-15 czerwiec tego roku do Szczecina, gdzie odbędą się Światowe Dni Morza. Nadchodzące wydarzenie jest wyjątkowe z uwagi na 70-lecie istnienia Międzynarodowej Organizacji Morskiej, jak również stulecia niepodległości Polski. Bardzo przepraszam, że pozwoliłem sobie wykorzystać to swoje wystąpienie również do zaproszenia Państwa i dziękuję za udzielenie głosu. Dziękuję.
Thank you very much also for the kind invitation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of our debate. And I'd like to say, first of all, many, many thanks to our guest speakers for your very thought-provoking insights into what your respective organizations are doing to ensure safe, secure, and resilient transport systems and operations, as well as your insights on where you see key opportunities for improved coordination, including in the sharing and use of new technologies and data. Also, a very warm thanks to all of you, Excellencies, dear ministers and vice ministers, for your contributions and also for your attention during our discussion. And if I can just briefly summarize a few of the threads of the discussion that I think have been very useful for all of us. You've drawn the link between resilience and sustainability. Some of you have also drawn the link between those two things and diversity. you've also, many of you, emphasized the importance of enhancing cooperation and collaboration, not only between the private and the public sectors, but also between national, international, local, regional bodies. So really looking to deepen both what were referred to as vertical and horizontal collaboration. Many of you have emphasized the role and the benefits of new technologies and innovation. You've also talked about the preconditions for their effectiveness and for their security, including conditions like interoperability, clarification of standards, both for use and exchange of information. And I think finally, for all of us who have been working for some time in the area of road safety, it's encouraging to see such high-level attention and support for safe systems approaches going forward. So those were just a few of the themes in this discussion. I want to hand back now to the Secretary General of the ITF, but I warn you, you haven't heard the last of me, because I am going to try to help you coordinate the family photo, the traditional family photo, and when we get around to that, you'll hear my voice, and if you look toward the stage in back of me, you will also be able to see me as I try to instruct you as to how to get into position. So with that, I will now hand back to the Secretary General, and after him to the Latvia presidency for final remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melinda. Finally, I would like to thank State Secretary Ozolins for presiding and leading today's ministerial sessions. And we are very grateful to Latvia, Team Latvia, for its leadership over the last 1 year. So they made great efforts, and before the witnesses, excellencies, ministers, and distinguished guests, I would like to propose that we give them a big appreciation, thanking them. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for kind words and applause. And I think that the best tribute I can give at the moment is to say that the points raised today will be a very valuable contribution both to the work of the ITF and to our individual everyday efforts in making the world a better, safer, and more secure place. At this point, I would like to say thank you also from presiding country, from Latvia, to all distinguished ministers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, for participation. Also, I would like to extend thanks to ministers from South Africa and Thailand, as well as Vice Minister from Saudi Arabia, also representative from Ministry of Papua New Guinea, and also Intergovernmental Organization Secretary General from ICAO and representative from World Bank. Thank you very much.
Sorry, it is perfect.